Hi there. Today is the second day of my 1 month English speaking challenge when I'm making the videos solely in English, and I was going to share some thoughts with you. So, what has recently dawned at me that all my life was sort of a rat race towards some goals that probably were not even mine. They could be inflicted by the society, by the family, by the friends and enemies, but they were not my real and desired goals. Let's take my career path, for example. My very first specialty that I got when I graduated from the university was marketing and economics, and almost 14 years I dedicated to this occupation, and I ended up being completely burned out at some point emotionally. But I couldn't relax, and I decided that, and actually the war in my native region in Donetsk contributed to it as well, that I couldn't just relax, and I just had to switch to something else that would provide some money for living, for existence, for my, let's say, future prospects. So I had to switch to the technical career, to IT, where again from the very first day I had to prove that I'm capable of things, of doing things, that I'm smart enough, that I'm competent and professional enough to be in this industry, where back then, and actually now as well, male staff, personnel, or let's say resources dominated and still are dominating. And that was tough for me to move to that point where I am now, and I'm a senior software engineer, and I'm technically a UI lead in our onshore small UI team in one of the biggest financial institutions of the United States. So all that time, all those years, I was just trying to catch up and put my career and profession as a top priority in my life. So, oh my god, this is the TV that I mentioned yesterday during my very first video. I'm in the scope of this English speaking challenge. And yeah, this is what always happens. He watches TV and it works very loudly because he is a professional musician, or let's say was professional musician, because he is now again shifting to some other direction. And he just, after those years he played guitar with all those speakers and monitors, he just became sort of like deaf to some degree, and that's why he cannot watch or listen to something without leveling up the volume. So I lost my point, right? So okay, so I had to postpone all my other creative endeavors and hobbies and tons of ideas that I generated throughout those years, because every time I thought, okay, if I'm not concentrated on my career at this point, I'll not be successful. I will not be able to reach that point where I feel safe in terms of finances, in terms of the market value, in terms of the reputation of mine. And it just recently came to that point when I understood that I don't care about my work anymore. I don't want to wake up in the mornings. I don't have any motivation. Even if I would be offered $500,000 a year as a compensation, probably it would help me like for another 6 months or so, and then I would be completely like shut down emotionally, because I wouldn't see any other goal, since that is already a very high threshold of the salary in IT, right? And there is no other motivation that would push me towards some further professional development, because I really feel like I need some rest. I need to get back to my, like, let's say, universal roots. I mean, the cosmic energy, right? And I just need to remind myself that I am a spiritual human being. And so this way, I started to meditate. And I have been doing this like for only a week or so, and it's actually already helping me pretty much. So today that was the one. At some point I was a little bit afraid, scared that I could dive into some sort of a trance and will not be able to come back without any, like, I don't know, mental shifts or something. But I ended up with some mighty thoughts, and actually it just refreshed my, let's say, my theory, just evolved, developed from the theory that we're all the part of that star that spread its stardust after the Big Bang. And even though it was like 10th millions of years ago, we're still that energy, those atoms, those particles of the stardust. And that means that we are part of the universe. So every one of us is a universe. And it's like we have the same access to the universal wisdom, knowledge, mightiness, opportunities, and all this energy, but we just don't realize it because we don't see it. And then I thought, okay, we don't see the cosmos, space around us, right, from here, because the atmosphere creates that layer that, let's say, filtering out the darkness of the space and the ambient lights in the cities. It prevents us from seeing the stars in that abundance that actually abundance. But it doesn't mean that there is no space, right? Even if we don't see it. So it actually, that thought was very liberating, that actually everything is possible. And I also read a nice article today, and I saw a cool video about procrastination. And when I figured out that it's our neurobiological peculiarity, it also liberated me, because I understand that it's not just me being depressed, or it's not just me being lazy. And after that, I did so many things and errands, ran the errands that I was not able to do yesterday, because I was not that inspired, or, as I said, liberated or freed from all those annoying thoughts in my head that it's all my blame. But I'll speak about procrastination and how to deal with that, and actually the solutions, how to turn it into some benefit to you. I'll talk maybe in some of my other videos throughout this challenge of mine. But as of now, what I decided, so okay, I allocated 30 minutes for this meditation, so I treated myself. I invested some time in myself, in my mental and emotional balance. Then I thought, okay, I finally need to allocate some time to give the outlet for my emotions through the art therapy, through the craft, through things like that. And I found my old sketchbook and the box with pencils, and I have never started it because, as I said, every time I moved all of my priorities, put them aside just for sake of my career. And what else? I think that I have the portrait here of my husband when he was 35, I guess, and I sketched it, but you cannot see like the real work here and the real hues and shades, because camera will never be able to reflect this on the camera, to convey this properly. And those lines, they're not so dark and they're not so, let's say, thick and dense. In real life it looks way much better. And also you're seeing this mirrored here, right? So it's just a little bit different. And I actually like to draw people. Probably this is one of my favorite theme for drawing. And when I paint, those are mostly like sceneries, sometimes cities, and I love the architecture, and I love the paintings and drawings of the cities, but I'm not patient enough to spend so much time like detailing and outlining every single piece of the architecture, of the complex architecture. For example, if you do the European cities, if you paint or draw. So yeah, this is what I'm going to do now, and maybe before my bedtime, as usual, I will read a book. And currently, this is the interesting book that at some point one of my old friends, old because I'm not communicating with this person anymore for some circumstances, but I truly would love to. This was an amazing and smart, talented, and outspoken American person from the Midwest. So he at some point introduced to me the charm of the ancient Roman history. And one of the books that he recommended back then, and he said it's not some boring in terms of, the literature of dry facts, during my school years, I hated history as the class, only because it had, maybe it was just Soviet, post-Soviet type of teaching us, right? And representing the information, but it had so many chronological facts and dates, and that was very difficult for me to memorize them, and I hated. That's why I hated that, because of those digits and dates, than something humanitarian. And he said, well, but this book, Ancient Rome on 5 denarii a day, and give me a second, I'll show it to you. He's currently sitting on my yoga mat here on the floor in the bedroom. So yeah, it looks like this. It has kind of cool printing here, the layout, and also some photographies. Some photographs. The paper is very dense and high quality. So he said to me that this book is not even close to boring, because it's like a guide for tourists, but through the ancient Rome sites and places, how to get there, where to spend your time, what can you buy as souvenirs or most famous meals in the ancient Roman cuisine. And yeah, it's really like a guide, and with the preconditions, premises that you have only 5 denarii to spend a day. And I'm kind of excited because it already sounds fun. I don't want to make this videos too long and just droning about something like this, and to make people drowsy and exhausted at the end of it. But as I said, the point of these videos, of this challenge, is just to speak English the way I do this every day, without thinking too much, without trying to rephrase something, without trying to be flawless, right? And because this is how I will be able to see the progress at the end. Anyways, I'll probably finish this video, and I'll say bye-bye to you, and see you later.